We're up to Yud Zayin Amid Aleph, Yud Zayin Amid Aleph, and we're up to the Mishnah. And Derech Hakdama, we're familiar with this. We had this machlokes already twice. Very famous machlokes between Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel regarding smicha on Yantif. Smicha on Yantif. Now we know that you bring, by now, there are two chiyuvim to bring when you're over the regel. That's the theme of the Masechta. It's called Masechta Chagigah. You bring an oilus re'iyah and you bring a shalmi Chagigah. An oilus re'iyah and a shalmi Chagigah. Okay. Says Beis Shammai, the oilus re'iyah you do not bring on Yantif. Why? Because there is no ochel nefesh. The whole heter for being docha Yantif is to be able to eat it. So you can't go ahead and eat it. So therefore the oilus re'iyah, which is burnt, is not brought. Conversely, the shalmi Chagigah, which can be eaten, is brought. However, we do not do smicha on it. According to Beis Shammai, you don't do smicha on Yantif. You would do smicha before Yantif. Beis Shammai is of the opinion that you do not need takif l'smicha shchita. You don't need shchita immediately following the smicha. Therefore, the smicha can take place before Yantif. So before Yantif, you're being mishamash with a Baal Chai, which is a shvus. You could do on Yantif. Push your hands down with all force on the animal before Yantif, and do the shchita of the shalmei Chagigah on Yantif. And the other three are not at all, because there is no eichel nefesh. You just have to excuse me. I have a cold. I seem to have developed a cold. Whereas Beis Hillel says you bring the oilus re'iyah and you bring the wat shalmei Chagigah and you do smicha, and that's it. Beis Hillel is made on Shabbos, you don't do it. So says the Mishnah. Beis Shammai mevi and shlamim on Yontif you could bring the shalmei Chagigah. The ain't simcha leim. You don't do smicha on Yontif. You do it before Yontif. Aval loy oilus. You don't bring the oilus re'iyah because there is no ochel nefesh. Beis Hillel mevi and shlamim oilus. You bring both. You bring shlamim and oilus. And even though there's no Echel Nefesh, we have a pasuk for Chagigah Moisei Hashem. It should be a Chag Hashem. So also for the Hashem can eat on the Chag. V'samich Maleim, and you do smicha. Again, this is on Yantif. Atzeret shechal liyos be'erev Shabbos. If Shavuos falls out on Friday, so guys, according to Beis Shammai, I can't do smicha. I can't bring my oilus re'iyah on Friday. I can't bring it on Shabbos. Do I bring it on Sunday or not? Beis Shammai Yomim, Yom Tevuach Shelo is Achar Shabbos. The day of the shechting of the oilus re'iyah will be after Shabbos. The day of the shechting will be what? After Shabbos. This is according to Beis Shammai. Beis Hillel Yomim Ein Yom Tevuach Achar Shabbos. There's no Yom Tevuach Achar Shabbos. The Havamina Gemara is there's no Yom Tevuach at all. In fact, that's not what he means. It means it's not necessary, because since you can bring it on Friday, because Beis Hillel is of the opinion you could bring the oilus re'iyah on Yontif. It's not a problem. Ain't Tevuach Shabbos doesn't mean there's none at all. It means it's not necessary at all. U'moidim, and Beis Hillel is moidim Beis Shammai shemchalal liyos b'Shabbos sheyom Tevuach Shabbos. That if Atzeres falls out on Shabbos, then what? Then the shchita would be on the next day. Then the shchita would be what? On the next day. Ein kohen gadol mislabish b'kelav. That day when it's Sunday, and you're bringing the kabbanis, then in kohen gadol mislabish b'kelav. Rashi says he does not go ahead and wear nice clothing. Says Rashi, in kohen gadol mislabish b'kelim noyim b'beisai. He doesn't wear nice clothing in his house. Ubishuk in the street. V'lav b'shas avoida kamar. We're not speaking about the 8 begodim that he wears b'shas the avoida. V'lo b'big de kahuna koi. Ela shalai yisnoya b'oisai yoin. He should not be well attired that day. Sheyom Tevuach shel Atzeres Achar Shabbos. Sheyavinu HaKol, that everyone should understand. She'einu hayom Yontif, that it's not Yontif. Then they had tzedokim shehayu oimrim Atzeres Achar Shabbos. Now we know that the tzedokim learned Milachos HaShabbos that you always bring the oimer on a Sunday. If you bring the oimer on a Sunday, you count 7 weeks. Then the kivsei Atzeres and Shavuos will always fall out on a Sunday. It's always going to be on a Sunday. So over here, if you're going to be bringing the kabbanis of Shavuos on Sunday, people might mistakenly think, oh, it's Yontif. So to go ahead and make a public statement This is not Yontif. This is a Tashlumin. It's a Yom Tavuach for Yontif, which was on Shabbos. He goes ahead and wears different clothing. Again, because we have this concern that what? Of Tzedokim, Ad Kedei Kach, to make a public macha, that what? There is no, it's not Yontif. It's not Yontif. It's Sunday. It's not Yontif. To go ahead, we might see Libetz Tzedaikim. Now, Taisus disagrees about the clothing. He says it's speaking about the big day kahuna, but be that as it may, the reason is the same. The concern is to say, like the Tzedaikim, that Shavuos always fell out on a Sunday, 7 weeks after the bringing of the Omer, which has always brought me Machras Shabbos, the day after Shabbos, and therefore to be might see Libetz Tzedaikim. So to summarize on our Mishnah, we have the Machloikis, whether you do bring the Kolos Oilus Re'iyah on Yontif or not, whether you do smicha or not, if it falls out on Friday, Shavuos falls out on Friday, if you bring a carbon on Sunday or not, but that's an extension of the first machlokes, because Beis Hillel, it's not necessary because you bring it on Friday. And finally, when Beis Hillel is moided that you would bring it on Sunday because it falls out on Shabbos, and as I was magnim earlier, Beis Hillel is moided to Beis Shammai, you don't bring the Oivus Riyah or the Shamei Chagigah on Shabbos. Right, you bring it there Tashnum and you bring it on Sunday. In that scenario, you bring it on Sunday, you make a public macha, the publicly decry that chas v'shalom to say that what this is truest, to be yotzim elimin shal tzedaikim. Says the Gemara, Amar Rav Laza, Amar Rabbi Shia, minayin latzeres sheyesh l'tashlumin kol shiva. Now this is a huge chiddush, guys. We had this before. It's a huge chiddush. Pesach is 7 days. Sukkot is 7 days plus Shmini Atzeres. Shavuos is 1 day. If I don't bring my Oilus Riyah and Shalmei Chagigah on the first day, I have Tashlumin. The din of Tashlumin applies to Shavuos, even though it's Yemei Chayil. Even though it's a weekday, it's not Chol HaMoed, it's a weekday. The halacha applies, the halacha of Tashlumin applies. Now, so where do you know this from? So this is a Gemara that I do with my Chavrus in Rosh Hashanah. We had him after Rosh Hashanah. How do you know what? That you have Tashlum in all 7 days. Shenamar, it says, B'chag ha'matzos, u'b'chag ha'shvuos, u'b'chag ha'sukkos. It says, three, go ahead, and we have the 3 Yom Tovim mentioned together. The whole pasuk is, 3 times a year we should see all the males. In the place that he would choose. You should not see HaKadosh Baruch Hu's face empty-handed. So what do we learn from that? Makish Chag HaShavuos to Chag HaMatzos. We make a hekesh between the Chag HaShavuos to Chag HaMatzos. Ma Chag HaMatzos yesh tashlumim kol shiva. Just like Chag HaMatzos, you can make up bringing the karbonis Oilus Re'iyah and Shalmei Chagigah all 7 days. Av Chag HaShavuos, so too Chag HaShavuos yesh tashlumim kol shiva. You have a tashlum in all 7 days. So again, the hekesh, the comparison from Shavuos to Matzah. Just like matzah 7 day, so too what? It's 7 days. Now, why do you go ahead and limit it? Why do you decide to make the hekesh to go to what? To Pesach? Why don't you make the hekesh to go to Sukkot? The ema makesh l'chag Sukkos. Let's make the hekesh to Sukkos. Ma chag Sukkos, just like Sukkos, yesh l'shlumin kol shmeina. You have 8 days. Af chag Shavuos yesh l'shlumin kol shmeina. If you don't bring Oilus Riyah Shalmei Chagigah, we had a limud early in the Masechta that you can bring it even on Shmini Atzeres. L'rabbis Yom Achron Shel Chag, even Shmini Atzeres, you could bring it, right? So, Fred Gemara, why limit the days of Tashlumin of Shavuos till 7 days? We can make an extension another day. If you once it's in the same pasuk and you're making a hekesh, make the hekesh from Shavuos to Sukkot rather than to Matzah. Says Gemara. Says the Shmini regel b'fnei atzmahu. Shmini is considered a sepen yontif. Therefore, it wouldn't help to go ahead and make the hekesh to Sukkot. Says the Gemara, Eimod the army Shmini regel b'fnei atzmai. When do we say regels? It's a b'fnei atzmai hani mili le'inyan the nutrikin pazer kashab. Pay is for pious b'fnei atzmai. They would have their own lottery to decide the kabbanis. Zman, you make a shechiyanu. Regel, you say Yom Shmini Chagazeh, not Chagas Sukkos. Kof Linyan Karbonis. Shin is a separate shear. Beis Linyan Berchus of the Melech. So all these Linyan Pasha Kashab, that's what it's a regel for Yatzmai. Aval Inyan Tashlumin the Rishon who? It's the Tashlumin of Sukkos. That nan Mishloi Chag b'Yom Tov Rishon Shel Chag. As we mentioned, someone who didn't go ahead and bring the Karbonis all 7 days. Chagigah gets kol regel. He can bring in the whole regel. If he doesn't bring in the first day, he doesn't bring in the whole. He has the whole 7 days. Not only does he have all the 7 days, he has what? Yom Achron. So back to the original question. Pazakasha makes a regular fiatzma. Tashlumin, it's an extension of Sukkot so memela freding marakasha. Why limit Shavuos to what? To 7 days? Because of Hekesh Namatzah, go ahead and be makish it to Sukkot and I'll get another extra day. Shmini Atzeres, Linyan Tashlumin. And for the Gemara, to fast Maruba, like the fasta muat the fasta. You have an option go for the smaller part, the larger part, you always go for the smaller part. We spoke out. You won't be, and you'll never be caught in a lie or anything as a result, because 7 is Bechal 8, but 8 is not Bechal 7.
Why is Beis Shammai limited to Sunday then if you have 7 days?
What?
Why is Beis Shammai limiting the Tashlumim to Sunday? Says the Yom of the Karban is...
That's the first day you can bring it. That's the first day of Tashlumim. That's the first day. In other words, you can't, he's just telling you when's the earliest you can bring it. When's the earliest you can bring it is that day. Now, okay, you have established a relationship between Atzeres and Matzah. Good? I understand. What is in the Hekesh there? You have another thing. You have Chag Sukkos. What's Chag Sukkos coming to teach me? In the pasuk it says Chag Matzos, Chag Sukkos, Chag Shavuos. So what's this coming to teach me? It says for what purpose did the Torah write Chag Sukkos? It says to make a hekesh between Sukkos and Matzah. Ma Chag Matzos toyin lina, just like Chag Matzos. You have to stay overnight. After the first day, you can't leave at night. You have to stay over the Chalamoid. Chag Sukkos is toyin lina. So to Sukkos, and you have to stay in Yerushalayim that night. And how do you know that by Matzah? How do you know by Chag Matzos there's a din of lina, staying overnight? So the pasuk says, "Ubi shalta, you'll cook v'achalta b'makam asher yivcha Hashem, and eat in the place where Hashem chose. Elokecha boy upanisa, and you will turn baboiki in the morning v'lach le'lecha, and you'll go home to your tents." So it says by Pesach upanisa baboiki v'lachta. So just like Pesach, we have established there's an inyan of staying overnight. In Dafka in the morning, do you travel? Hu hadin le'inyan sukkis. There's a din of lina. Okay. Tanan, Atzeres shechal yos erev Shabbos, Atzeres that falls out on erev Shabbos. So what our Mishnah said, Beis Shammai Yomrim, Yom Tevuach Achas Shabbos. The earliest you can bring your Oilis Riyah and your Shalmi Chagigah is on Sunday. Okay, let's go through it again. You can't bring the Oilis Riyah on Shabbos. Why? On Friday, because there's no Eichel Nefesh. You can't bring it on Shabbos because everyone holds it's not Eichel Shabbos. Because why? Because there's the din of Tashlumin. So the earliest you can bring it is on Sunday. There's no Yom Tevuach. Now, this is a question of Rabbi Shaya. Guys, Rabbi Shaya is the one who established there's a din of Tashlumin by what? By Shavuos. Good? Again, once again, the whole rest of the Gemara, Daf is going to be questioning Rabbi Shaya. Rabbi Shaya is of the opinion that there's a din of Tashlumin by Atzeres. Good? That's his opinion. Now, on that, we're asking from our Mishnah. Rabbi Beis Hill says, "Ein lo yom tevuach." There is no yom tevuach if it falls out on erev Shabbos. Now, my love, it falls out on Shabbos. It falls out on Shabbos. My ein lo tevuach doesn't mean klal. It means there's no tashlumin at all. Kasha Rabbi Shia. In other words, I touched up in the Mishnah at the end, guys. Ein lo tevuach means it's not necessary because you can bring it on Yontif. He's touching up. No. There's no Yom Tevuach at all, meaning there's no Tashlumin for Shavuos. If there's no Tashlumin for Shavuos from a Mishnah, it's a Kashan Rabbi Shaya. It says Merloi, Sheina Tzricha Yom Tevuach. You don't need a Yom Tevuach. You know why? Because you can bring it on Yontif. Umay Kamash Valon, the Makrivin Biyoimei. Right? That you could bring it on its day. That's says the Mahafligu Bachad Zimna, that man, Bishami Yom Mevi and Shalom being Simon Malayhim. You look back in the Mishnah, guys. Look back in the Mishnah. Says the Mishnah. Good. So now you just told me the din that on Yontif you can't bring a carbon oila, and you could bring the shlamim without smicha. Beis Hillel disagrees on the oila part, and he disagrees on the smicha part. Good. Next, atzeres shechalias berev Shabbos. Atzeres that falls on erev Shabbos on Friday. Beishama yoimim yom tevuach achas Shabbos. The earliest you can bring the kabbanis is what is on Sunday. So yoimim ein yom tevuach achas Shabbos. Perish. It's not necessary to go ahead and bring it after Shabbos because you could bring it right on Friday. Isn't that just a repeat of what you just said? Bishleim, if you tell me ain't tevuach klal, that there's no makeup for this, that's a chiddush. But if you're telling me that it means that you don't need one, it's simply repeating the machlokes in the first place, which is what? Whether you could bring the oilus re'iyah or not. What did you gain in the second lashon that you didn't have in the first? Bishleim, if you say ain't tevuach klal means there is no day at all, and therefore it's a kasha Rabbi because it says that Atzeres has no tashlumin, it makes sense. But if you're telling me that what? Ein latfuach means it's not necessary because you can bring the karbanis on yontif. They already said that in the first clause of the Mishnah. That's the kasha. Let's see it inside, guys. One more time. Okay, Fred Gemara, 6 lines down. They already argued whether you can bring it on yontif or not. You can bring the carbon shlamim, because it's like nefesh, but you can't do smicha because it's a shvus pushing down on a bal chai, but you might. You can't bring the oilus because there's no eichel nefesh. So you're telling me the exact same thing. You're telling me, guys, the exact same thing. And from you need to tell me both. The latter case, in other words, by the first case, the first din, you don't bring it the first day of yontif because it's possible the second day of yontif. But in the latter din, when it falls out on Friday, guys, when it falls out on Friday, and I'm not going to be able to bring it on Shabbos, maybe it's moeded to Beis Hillel. So there's a chiddush in the second case that you don't hear in the first case. The first case is, let's say, I'm picking a date. Let's say yontif falls out on a Wednesday. Says Beis Shammai, you can't bring it on a Wednesday. Bring it the first day of Chol Hamoed on Thursday. But maybe if it falls out on Friday and the first day of Chol Hamoed is going to be Shabbos and he can't bring it, maybe he might be moeded to Beis Hillel that you could bring it on what? On Friday. Kemashmalon, you can't. So there's a chiddush in the second case. And if you just tell me what the second case, Beis Hillel, Mishum del Efsha. You know, Beis Hillel says you can bring it on a Friday. Why? Because you can't bring it on a Shabbos. But because you can't possibly bring it on a Shabbos. But when it falls out on a Wednesday, right? When it falls out on a Wednesday, that you don't bring it on Yontif on Wednesday, bring it the first day Chol Hamoed. So tell me that what? That no. So therefore, is it tzricha in both cases? Again, there's a tzricha in the case of Friday. You might think Beis Shammai is Maida. There's a case of Wednesday. You might think that Beis Hillel is Maida. Kemash Malon, that they're staunch in their opinions that even if I can't bring it on the next day because it's Shabbos, you bring it on Sunday, but you can't bring it on Friday. And even though you could bring it on the first day Chol Hamoed, Thursday, you still bring it on Wednesday. That's the chiddush. But regarding tashlumin, no, of course there's a tashlumin to Shavuos right now. According to Rabbi Shaya, he's held serve. Next question, Rabbi Shaya, whether there's a din of tashlumin for Shavuos or not. That's the question at hand. Whether there's din of tashlumin Shavuos or not. Guys, we're all clear? We're good? Guys, we're all good? Toshma. Mishalei Chag Shivas Yimei Pesach. Someone who did not go ahead and bring his kabbanis all the days of Pesach. Ushmoini Yimei Chag, or he didn't bring it all 8 days of the Chag. He didn't bring it all 8 days of the Chag. He didn't bring it all days of the Chag. The Yontov Harishon Shel Atzeres, or he didn't bring it on the first day of Atzeres. Shuv Eina Chagigah. My love, Yontov Shel Atzeres, the day of Yontif itself. Mashma, you know why you have to bring it on the Yontif itself? Because there is no tashlumin to Shavuos. Kashan Rabbi Shia. And if Yom Tevuach, it means the day that you possibly could bring it, but not that Yom Tevuach means the day that the Yom Tevuach means the day of tashlumin. Yom Tevuach is a tashlumin day, guys. Yom Tev is Yom Tev. Yom Tevuach is what is tashlumin. Nifshet mina the Chad Yuma Tevuach let's be poishy. There's only one day to make it up, right? Which is a kasha on Rabbi. In other words, now there's another kasha. Rabbi said two dinim. One, there's a din of tashlumin for Shavuos. In addition, that day extended for 7 days. So what are you telling me? That Yom Tvuach means 1 day, so you don't have 7 days. You only have 1 day to make it up. Not 7 days like you thought. And for the Gemara, Ema Yemei Tvuach. Don't say Yom Tvuach, let's say Yemei Tvuach, the days of Tvuach, meaning you have 7 days. So far, 2 questions on the opinion of Rabbi Shia, whether you can make it up or not, whether there's a chag, the hekesh Tuat to Pesach of 7 days. You question him first from a Mishnah, you question him from a Brisa, he's held serve in both cases. Tashma, a third challenge to Rabbi Shia. The 20 Rabbi Bar Shmuel learned, Amra Torah Mana Yomim, count days, the Kiddush Chodesh. We count 29 days, and the 30th day we make Rosh Chodesh or the 31st day. Mana Yomim, and we bring what? And we bring a carbon musaf. We bring again, what are we counting for Rosh Chodesh? We're counting for to bring the musaf of Rosh Chodesh. So the purpose of the counting is for Kabbanis. Mana Yomim, you count days, the Kiddush Atzeres, 49 days. So we count 29 days, we count 49 days. You count 49 days, and you Kaddish the Atzeres with the Shalmei Chagigah and the Oilas Re'iyah. Ma Chodesh Limenuyav, just like Chodesh goes according to the units of days, Afat Seres Limenuyaha. So too that Seres goes according to its what? Its units of days. My love, Gomar Mi Chodesh, is it not that at Seres we learn from Chodesh? Ma Chodesh Yom Echad, just like Rosh Chodesh is 1 day. Afat Seres Yom Echad. So too at Seres you get 1 day, and there's no such thing as a Tashlumin for at Seres. A third challenge to Rabbi Shia. You, Rabbi Shia, say that make a hekesh to what? Matzah. To learn there's a Tashlumin 7 days. Mashra from this brisa that there is no. We make a comparison to Rosh Chodesh, just like Rosh Chodesh is 1 day, and you bring only the Karban Musaf. So too the Kabbanis of the Oilos Re'iyah Shani Chagigah, you have 1 day, which is what? Which is Yontif, but no Tashlumin. Amarava v'tizbra. Atovat Seres Yoimi Maninan. The whole unit you count is days. Shuei loy maninan, but we don't count weeks. Ivam Rabaya, mitzvah lemimne yoime. It's a mitzvah to count days. Tichsiv tisperu chamishim yoim. U'mitzvah lemimne shvuei. And it's a mitzvah to count weeks. Tichsiv sheva shvueis tisper sheva 7 weeks. Tisperlach. You should count for you. So you count weeks as well. So, if you're going to count weeks, guys, what's the unit of? So, if the 7 weeks, you have a week to make it up. You know, in other words, if your whole thing is you only have 1 day, then you only have 1 day. But we know in Shavuos, you count weeks also, so you get a full week, like Rabbi Shia, you get a full week. V'oid. In addition, what does it say? V'oid. In addition. I just want to get this pasuk. In addition, Chag HaShavuos ksiv. It's written what Chag HaShavuos, the Torah. It says Chag HaShavuos, right? So what's the ikka counting, guys? Is not the days. The ikka counting what is the weeks. So Memela, Rabbi Shia has held serve the third challenge to a shita that there is a din tashlum in a what of 7 days. So far good. Again, for those who came late, the whole shir has been about at Seres. You have 7 days to go ahead and make up at Seres. To go ahead and make up at Seres. That's a Rabbi Shia. He learns it out from a hekesh tuat to Chag HaMatzos. Just like matzah 7 days, so to what? Shavuos is 7 days, which is a huge kiddush because the 7 days of tashlumin of a matzah is cholamoid. The 7 days of tash, and the last day is yontif. And it says that the 7 days of tashlumin of Shavuos is Yimei Choyel. It's all weekdays. So nonetheless, you'd have time to make it up. Debate Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov Tana. Now we're going to have a second source, guys, for the tashlumin. We're going to have a second source for the tashlumin of 7 days. Second source. The Bei Rebbe Elazar ben Yaakov Tana, Yeshiva Rebbe Yaakov, they learned. Amakra, the pasuk says, "Ukaratzem be'etzem hayom hazeh, mikra kodesh yilachem, kol malachas avodah leisasu." And you should call out be'etzem hayom hazeh. Speaking about Shavuos, mikra kodesh, it should be all malacha you shouldn't do. And the pasuk that afterwards says, "Ubekutzuchem es ketzir artzachem." When you harvest your crop, leischala pasodcha bikutzrecha. Do not go ahead and take the payah. Leave it for the what? For the aniyim. So we have a smicha between what? At Ukrasem calling at Shavuos and Ketzira. The Eza Chag Shat the Koreya, the Koitzaboy. What's the Chag that you're calling at Mikra Kodesh? And in fact, what you are harvesting? Zek Chag Atzeres. That's Atzeres is the time you're harvesting your wheat. That's why you bring the Kivsei Atzeres. Therefore, Masai. Exactly when are we speaking that you're calling a Mikra Kodesh? Guys, when is Mikra Kodesh? Ilema should be Yontif. The Yontif itself, Kitsira B'Yontif Mishari. In other words, the juxtaposition of the two Pesukim are saying there's a day where you actually can cut that you call Mikra Kodesh. Again, it's not that the cutting, it's speaking about, the season of cutting at that time of the year. No. It's speaking about actual cutting. And we're calling, because of the juxtaposition to the pasuk before, we're calling Mikra Kodesh. We're calling the day you cut Kodesh. Now, obviously, the day you cut, it has to be the day after the day after Yom Kippur, Shavuos. If it's the day after Shavuos, you see it must be called Kodesh. Le'inyan what? Le'inyan Tashlumin. Says the Gemara. Emas ilema b'yontif. It's speaking about Yontif itself. Kasir b'Yontif mishari. It can't be speaking b'Yontif. Elolav. It must be speaking with Tashlumin. It must be called. It's called in Tashlumin. Right. So that's the limud. So now we have two limudim for Tashlumin. One from a comparison to matzah, and two from what saying in position Mikra Kodesh to beyond Kutzuchem. Right. That's Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov. The Afa gav the Itmar Rabbi Elazar Amar Rabbi Ishia. And even though we had the hekesh to what? To Sukkot, to Shavuot, to Pesach, it's the rich. You need the limud of Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov. So guys, we're going to conclude the share by explaining why you need both limudim. Why do I need the hekesh to what? To matzah. And why I need the pasuk of Mikra Kodesh juxtaposed to what? To Ketzircha. It's the rich. It's the rich Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov. The Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov, the Rabbi Elazar Amar Rabbi Ishia, if you only have the hekesh to Sukkot to Pesach, Havamin, I would have said, Ma tashlumin shel Chag hamatzos asa b'asiyas malacha, just like the days of tashlumin of matzah, which is chol hamoed. It's us to the work. We went through a whole masechta, right? Moed cotton, discussing the isubat malacha, except the certain waivers of the davar ovid or different things. We had different halachas, but we know alpi pashtus is also to the work chalamoy. So I would have said the following, guys. Listen, if I just would have had the limud from the hekesh to matzah, I would say those 7 days of after Shavuos are similar to what the days of chalamoy. I would say just like there asa b'asiyas malacha. After Tashlumi at Seres, so to the days that you make them at Seres, Nami, Asa Messias Malacha. You'd be able, those days, even though they're chayil, right? You would say you can't do work. Kamash Malon, the Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov, that you could do work. Because guys, Kitsira, what are you doing? You're cutting. So obviously you're working. That's the Kiddush why you need Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov, the juxtaposition of Mikra Kodesh to what Kitsira. V'id Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov. And if you just had Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov, if you just had dinner of Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov, who just told me that what? That the juxtaposition of Mikra Kodesh Ketzircha, lo yadana kama. How many days do you have to make it up, guys? How many days do you have for Tashlumin? It doesn't give you a number. Kimash malon the Rabbi Elazar Amar Rabbi Ishia, kimash malon the hekesh to matzah. Just like matzah 7 days, so too is the Tashlumin of Shavuos 7 days. Good. Reish Lakish gives us a third source for what? For Tashlumin, which we will slug up. So a third source. Reish Lakish Amar, v'chag ha'kotzer, ezu chag she'ata chagig v'koytze boy. What's the chag that you bring Chagigah and you have Ktsira. Haviyayim is that Seres. Now, Emas, Ilim B'Yantif Ktsira B'Yantif Mishari Elalav L'Tashlumin. In other words, he doesn't even need a juxtaposition of Mikrei Kodesh like Razim and Yaakov. He says from the words itself, Chag HaKotzir. From those words it says the Yom Tiv of harvest. So he wants to say that you can't be speaking, they're actually harvesting on the Yom Tiv, so it must be what? The next day. Says the Gemara, 1 second. Ilim B'Yantif Ktsira B'Yantif Mishari Elalav L'Tashlumin. I'm Rabbi Yochanan. If you're correct, Elamiyata, the pasuk said in the same pasuk, it says Chag Osef. Guys, the pasuk says the Chag Kotza Bikuri Masecha Shetzizor B'Sada. The Chag Osef B'Tzeis Hashana B'Osef B'Chas Ma'aseh Ma'asech Menasada. So it says Chag Osef. What are you going to say? The same thing. Ezesh Chag Sheyesh B'Asifa. Which is the Chag where you gather in your grain? Haviyayim Ezeh Chag Asukos. Now, Emas, when are you gathering in the grain? Ilim B'Yantif Malacha B'Yantif Mishari. Are you permitted to gather your grain on Yantif? Ela B'Chalash Shel Moed. Chalash Shel Moed Mishari. Are you permitted to gather your grain in Chal Moed? You can't. So it's not speaking about an action, it's speaking about a time. Just like Chag HaKotzir, just like Chag HaOsef means the Chag that's in the season of gathering, but not speaking about actual gathering, so to the word Chag HaKotzir is speaking about the Chag that comes at the time of harvesting, but not actual harvesting. So we're refuting the limit of Reish Lakish to explain that there's a din of Tashlumin for the carbon of Shavuos. So just in closing, let's go over the different shittas. We have again Bisurim Achloikis Beishame Beis Hillel regarding Oilas Riyah, Shalmei Chagigah, whether you bring it Oilas Riyah not, according to Beishame, according to Beis Hillel, yes. Regardless of the day, whether the next day is a Yontif, it was Shabbos, or it's not Yontif. Beis Hillel says you bring it on Yontif. Beis Shammai says regardless whether the next day is Shabbos and you can't bring it, you still can't bring it on Friday. You're going to bring it on the day afterwards. You cannot bring it on the Sriya. Shalmei Chagigah, you could bring it not to Smicha. According to Beis Shammai, you do the Smicha the day before Erev Yontif, because he doesn't hold Takev Shmita Shlita. Beis Hillel says you do Smicha, and he holds Takev. You can't do it. You don't have the option of doing it earlier, because he holds Takev Smicha Shlita. Immediately following the Smicha is the Shlita. That was that din. We had Rabbi Shia's din to be machadish that there was a din of 7 days of making up if you didn't bring the carbon Chagigah or Oilas Riyah on Shavuos, you have 7 days to make it up through a hekesh to what Sukkos, through a hekesh to Sukkos. Excuse me, the hekesh to Pesach. Hekesh to Pesach. The hekesh from Sukkos, we learn out matzah. There's a din alina by, just like there's a din alina by matzah, so there's a din alina staying overnight by Sukkos. We have a second limud from Elazar and Yaakov. He learns a juxtaposition of Mikra Kodesh and when you're cutting your grain, and that teaches us that they obviously can be speaking that you're cutting the grain on that day, and yet it's called Kodesh. What's it called Kodesh? To create tashlumin, and both are necessary, because you wouldn't know what, you wouldn't know how many days there are. So therefore, I need the days of Sukkot. You need the hekesh to matzah, and if you just would have if you just have hit the limit of the 7 days, and you would have the other one, I would say that just like it's also to do malacha on Chol Hamoed, so too it's also to do malacha on the Yemei Choil following Shavuos. Kamash Malon, not. Tomorrow morning, guys.
Well,
Tomorrow morning, Bez Hashem. Yeah.
Why